I bet you weren't expecting August 2023 to start like this.
Today we have NBC News exclusive. 3 former dancers for pop star Lizzo are accusing the singer of sexual harassment and creating a hostile work environment.
Me neither. And I'll just say this from the jump. I instinctively believe the victims that came forward against Lizzo, her touring company, Big Girl Big Touring Inc., and her choreographer, Shirlene Quigley. I've worked in and around the entertainment and music industries my entire life, okay? Asshole, power-tripping bosses, toxic, boundaryless, sexually charged work environments. It's not the exception, it's the rule. But I'll be damned before I see my empathy get exploited and the videos on my channel turn out to be pawns in someone else's calculated little media war. No matter how virtuous that war may be, and especially if I'm not getting a cut of the profit or like settlements, whatever. So while I was about to make a pretty simple commentary video of me being horrified and aghast, I learned that word from Ice Spice, at the allegations that came out, I had to check myself from adding on to the pylon when an unlikely tip led me into a bit of a different direction. It has become clear to us here on Scandal, hosted by me, Scandalopolis, your internet scandal mommy, that this scandal was specifically crafted to scandalize. No. Yes. How do you know? Well, I'm happy you asked, AD. First, the lawsuit that has been circulating on the internet was leaked to the press in advance of its court filing. No! The lawsuit itself was double the length it needed to be and filled with needlessly salacious details about bananas shooting out of a and dirty Christian fantasies. And when you couple that with the fact that the leak was perfectly timed with a PR tour by the Plaintiffs, I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. So, if you don't mind me giving you some unsolicited advice, go on. I know that you don't like to feel like you're playing into anybody's hand, peddling and amplifying agendas that may not be your own. So maybe you should do a deep dive instead. Yeah, that's not a bad idea because the thing about scandals, it's about more than just the scandalous allegations being made. It's about the narratives and the counter narratives being spin and counter spinned. It's about what it says about human nature in its purest form. It's about how it exposes truisms, like how Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles, really thinks people are f***ing stupid and didn't hear the shade they most definitely heard. It exposes how working class cosplaying artists like Grimes have unfortunately had more than just their infiltrated by that fascist Elon Musk. And it brings to us beautifully rare moments of internet unity when influencers who try to chronically insert themselves into conversations are met with a resounding, "Shut the f*** up, Jameela." Okay, so what we're not gonna do is this. If you wanted your own YouTube channel, you should have fucking started one. Don't give me advice on some Trojan horse snake strategy to try and hijack my shit and steal my jokes. That's enough of you. Now back to me. Spotlight on me. It's not about Hollywood, it's about me. As per the advice of that brand jacking snake scandal, today's video will be a comprehensive deep dive video that breaks down the Lizzo affair, the Lizzo scandal, for what it is. A calculated media spectacle first and a very serious lawsuit later. And I will do my best to serve all this information to you in mostly chronological order. And if you like what you see, make sure to like and subscribe. It really helps my little channel out and it brings me one step closer to never having to deal with another alleged bullied like Lizzo in my professional career ever again. And also, this is the look today. Let me move the mic so you can see it. Let's break down the look, ballroom style. The hat, Doll's Kill. We're gonna have to talk about that retailer one day. The glasses, most likely thrifted and purchased off a friend. The t-shirt, Telfar. The skirt, Doll's Kill. The belt, House of Amazon. The leg warmers, House of Amazon. Bezos doesn't need my money, but 24-hour shipping, it doesn't get any better than that. The little kitten heels from The Bay, which is a iconic Canadian department store, and I got it in the sale section. Yeah, this is the look. So let's get started. Lizzo, also known as Melissa Vivian Jefferson, is an American rapper originally from Detroit, Michigan. Then she spent some time in Houston, Texas, and eventually ended up in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And today she's 100% Hollywood, baby. She's known for hits like DNA Turns Out, I'm 100% that, which, by the way, thanks to the predictable snowballing pattern of this scandal, I learned that she didn't actually come up with. She allegedly plagiarized that line off someone else. I'm not going to get into Lizzo's life story. This is in the biography channel. But I did do a previous deep dive video on Lizzo's controversial and honestly kind of shady shapewear brand called Yitty. And in that deep dive video, I dive into her history a little bit and talk about her history with the body positivity movement. And that particular deep dive is particularly relevant to this scandal because in life, the people you do business with tend to be a representation of who you are. And unfortunately, in the case of Yitty, the people Lizzo is in bed with are kind of shady. So if you'd like to know what is shady about Lizzo's partners and the brand Yitty, I highly recommend putting that shit on your playlist. What you need to know about Lizzo is that her success in the rap game is nothing short of a miracle. And not just because she's big and black, but specifically because of the type of big that she is, which is something I don't see people talking enough about. And to me was a key factor in her popularity. In our world, you can only be thin. But if you are big, the only acceptable type of big you can be is the type of big that sees you be all ass, all boobs, little waist. Basically, your ancestors need to have genetically blessed you with the type of body that statistically something like only 8% of women actually have. And that is the hourglass figure. Women with hourglass figures represent less than 8% of the population, but based on my observation, they represent a disproportionate amount of women who've made it to the top, especially in like the plus size kind of ecosystem. This specific body type prototype and discrimination, because that's what it is especially prevalent in the rap game. The rap game signs female artists by body type first, skin tone second, and everything else, including talent, comes after that. And I know this might sound funny to people, but this is a very real kind of body type and discrimination period that women and especially big girls face. And Lizzo made it to the top despite all that. Lizzo contours her body to make it look like an hourglass figure. But like most women, statistically, Lizzo is naturally more apple and rectangle shaped. And she flaunts the out of that natural shape most of the time. And that is extremely rare. So in many ways, from like a body type perspective, Lizzo is really the embodiment of the every woman, but she's the embodiment of the every woman who, instead of being insecure and making herself small because she doesn't conform to the standard, she is an every woman that is unapologetic about her non-conforming. And that to me was a key contributing factor to her popularity, especially in the body positivity like space, which is a huge part of Lizzo's appeal and Lizzo's brand. Up until this scandal, most of Lizzo's success was chalked up by most people, including me, as being a result of talent, hard work, and genuinely being a good person. We know, based on the information that's out there on Lizzo, that she didn't grow up with money and she didn't likely grow up with a ton of connections. Lizzo is far from being like a Nepo baby. And this made Lizzo somewhat of a light in the darkness. While good people do make it to the top, one of the dark realities of our capitalist world, here I am bringing up capitalism again, but it is what it is. One of the dark realities of our capitalist world is that it really creates a dynamic that facilitates the upward mobility of people with difficult personalities and high-key psychopathic traits. And this is something, statistics aside, that anybody with just like a little bit of life experience instinctively knows to be true. It's part of this endless list of shit that weathers people down and makes this world insufferable to the many. Within this stark reality, Lizzo was supposed to be one of the good ones. And the power of that goes far beyond the scope of just branding. Lizzo literally gave people hope. And on the morning of August 1st, 2023, it wasn't just Lizzo's commercial brand that was defaced. It was people's literal hope in humanity. Here's how it went down. So, the shite storm started on the morning of Tuesday, August 1st, 2023 at 10:36 a.m. Top of the month, top of the week, top of the morning. So you know they didn't want you to miss it. NBC News drops a bombshell report headlined, quote, "Former Lizzo dancers were weight shamed and pressured while at strip club," lawsuit says. Roughly 20 minutes later, Deadline publishes an article, quote, "Lizzo sued for sexual harassment and discrimination by Watch Out for the Big Girls contestants," end quote. And they proceed to drop a copy of the lawsuit. Before we get into the lawsuit, the first thing that is significant about this scandal is quite literally when the news broke. In the media industry, there's a widely known fact that when someone wants a story or news to catch the public's attention, you drop it at the beginning of the week. If you want a story to fly under the radar, you drop it towards the end of the week, close to the weekend, when people are checking out. This news broke at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of the week, at the beginning of the day. Okay, so whoever strategically chose to release this story when they did literally wanted it to sit with you for the rest of the summer. Okay, for the rest of the summer. The second significant thing about this scandal is that this lawsuit was leaked to the media in advance of its court filing. We know this because lawsuits that are filed are stamped in the top left corner. This lawsuit, or the lawsuit that's been circulating in the media at least, has none of that. All it has is a stamp deadline. This begs the question, who leaked the lawsuit to the media in advance of its court filing and why? And this is where things get interesting and even a little messy. I wanted to understand this lawsuit from a legal perspective so I could convey accurate information to you in this video. So I watched a few lawyers on YouTube pick the case apart and give their legal analysis. I also went over the lawsuit with my mother, who is a retired lawyer. And I am here to report to you, AD reporting live from her bedroom, that the sentiment shared amongst all these parties is that the lawsuit was most likely leaked to the press by the plaintiff's legal team by virtue of not only the moves that they made after this lawsuit was leaked to the press, but especially because of how this lawsuit was written. I learned something interesting doing research for this video. It seems like lawsuits don't need to read like half-baked erotic telenovelas. You can, if you choose to, simply limit yourself to describing the actions or series of actions that constituted the alleged violation of the law. We were at dance practice. I was accused of drinking on the job. I stood up for myself. Lizzo didn't like it. 3 days later, I was fired. But this lawsuit doesn't do that. In fact, it does the most and intermingles descriptions of genuine, alleged, actionable legal offenses with descriptions of information, allegations, and incidents that, while offensive, may not actually constitute a legal offense. A professional would be able to piece necessity from distraction meant to fulfill some larger strategic agenda apart. But the general, mostly legally uneducated public, like myself, not so much. So the assumption is that the lawsuit was drafted specifically with the intention of having specific offensive but not actionable offenses be turned into click-worthy sound bites that people could latch onto and reverberate across the internet, and it worked. We, including myself, got. Look around you. Everybody is talking about the goddamn bananas and the alleged weight shaming more than they're talking about some of the more serious allegations, which include false imprisonment and assault. We'll get to that. Now, why would the plaintiffs and their team make sure that there was a PR spectacle element to this lawsuit? Some lawyers seem to think that it could be part of the legal strategy. A kind of fear tactic meant to, I guess, scare the other party into settling outside of court. The idea being, if you don't like what this is doing to your brand now, you definitely don't want this to go to court because it could get a lot worse. However, I was watching Nahli, the lawyer chick, on YouTube talk about the case, and she did mention how settling outside of court can be seen by the public as a potential admission of guilt. So perhaps both parties, including the plaintiffs, fully intended and intend to take things all the way, which begs the question, why was this lawsuit so salacious? And Nahli, the lawyer chick, seems to think that the reason might be a lot more personal. This lawsuit is personal. Not only do these ladies want to get their bag, which is more than okay if they're legally entitled to it, but they also wanted to deface a brand in the process. They wanted to throw mud on Lizzo and make sure that whatever happens in the end, we, the public, could never unsee what we just saw. And in that respect, I think mission accomplished. But I'll leave it up to you to determine whether the mission was a virtuous and principled one, or if it's a mission that reveals something maybe a little darker about human nature. So here is what these ladies are alleging, and I'm going to stick as much as possible to what you need to know and not what this little PR play wants you to know. 3 of Lizzo's former dancers, Crystal Williams, Arianna Davis, and Noelle Rodriguez, are co-plaintiffs in a lawsuit that names artist Lizzo, otherwise known as Melissa Vivian Jefferson, the touring company Big Girl Big Touring Inc., as well as a choreographer called Shirlene Quigley as defendants. Crystal Williams and Arianna Davis joined Lizzo's dance crew after competing in a reality show called Watch Out for the Big Girls. Noelle Rodriguez was recruited after appearing in Lizzo's music video called Rumours. Ironically, that's the one with the NDA, no loose lips, now them hoes trying to sue me line. The lawsuit is seeking various damages for 9 alleged violations of the law in California. The 9 alleged violations of the law these 3 co-plaintiffs are suing for are, I'm not a lawyer, but I sure as hell could steal Harvey Levin's job. Hostile work environment as a result of sexual harassment. Failure to prevent and or remedy a hostile work environment where sexual harassment allegedly took place. Religious harassment, failure to prevent and or remedy the religious harassment. Racial harassment, disability discrimination, intentional interference with prospective economic advantage, assault, and false imprisonment. So what is a hostile work environment? A hostile work environment is when inappropriate conduct, such as sexual harassment, is so severe or pervasive that it creates an abusive workplace. All the lawyers I watched analyzing this case agreed that context will be especially important to determine what constitutes inappropriate behavior. It seems like inappropriate behavior in a workplace is very much, or can be very much, contingent on the type of workplace and industry these people signed up to work in. What is considered inappropriate in an adult entertainment setting may be very different from what is considered inappropriate for Pamela, the bank teller. So these plaintiffs, based on what I understand, will have to show that within the industry and the type of artist they signed up to work for, what they experienced was so inappropriate that it altered the terms of their employment agreement and was so severe and pervasive that it created an abusive workplace. And considering the fact that they're looking for punitive damages, based on what I understand, they will also need to show that this behavior was fraudulent, oppressive, and done with malice. This is going to be a lot, so I got myself a little cocktail. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but it is, so we have gin, peach flavored La Croix, what Americans call LaCroix, but it's La Croix, with blueberries on top. Maybe I'm going to call this the Lizzo. All the plaintiffs are suing all the defendants for creating a hostile work environment where sexual harassment took place. Davis and Williams allege that they were pressured to participate in a nude photo shoot as contestants of the reality show Watch Out for the Big Girls. But they did sign up to do a reality show. They must have signed a contract. What did they sign? What did they agree to? The lawyers have some questions. Davis in particular said in the lawsuit that she received an accommodation and did not actually have to perform nude. So this is a great example of information in the lawsuit that left people wondering, like, is this there to detail an example of sexual harassment, or is this there to paint a picture of an environment ripe for sexual harassment, or is this simply there for shock value and the PR angle of the lawsuit, right? Sympathy pandering. The experts have questions. All of the plaintiffs have a big problem with Miss Quigley. All the plaintiffs allege that they were constantly subjected to Miss Quigley talking about sex. Miss Quigley would apparently detail stories about her masturbatory habits and sexual fantasies and display her oral sex skills for all to see via the use of bananas. Again, is this information in here to detail an alleged incident of sexual harassment or where sexual harassment took place? Or is this information in there to paint a picture of a sexually charged environment? Or is this in there for shock value? It's hard to tell. All of the plaintiffs allege that Lizzo would pressure the plaintiffs and like the members of the team to attend outings where nudity and sexuality were on display. An important question here is, what kind of artist did you sign up to work for? Let's say you signed up to work for an artist like Brooke Candy. If you did your due diligence prior to employment, you'd know that Brooke Candy's artistry is heavily inspired by kink and BDSM culture. So the fact that as part of your employment or homework, you may have to be exposed to nudity, kinky, and potentially sexually hardcore visuals, let's say, might unfortunately not meet the inappropriateness barometer in this case. Another one of the things they allege in this lawsuit is that they had to attend these outings or else. Guess what? That or else part is important. Couldn't these plaintiffs show and prove that there was a coercive pressure to attend these events and those who didn't play ball were discriminated against, retaliated against, demoted, etc.? From what I understand, this is very important to address. The most serious allegation as part of the sexual harassment hostile work environment cause, revolves around the night at a club in Amsterdam called the Bananen Bar. Davis alleges that at that club, she was pressured by Lizzo to touch a nude performer's breasts against her will. That, everybody agrees, is a very serious allegation if it can be proven. As per the other details in the lawsuit surrounding that night, the lawyers I checked out had a lot of questions. For example, there's a line about Lizzo apparently hounding her employees to engage with nude performers and hounding her employees to catch those ejected from performers' vaginas. Who are these employees? Are they suing? It doesn't sound like it, because if that happened specifically to Davis, Williams, or Rodriguez, they would have mentioned that in the suit. So why is that information in there? I'm personally not too sure. And the lawyers I checked out seem kind of unsure as well. And obviously the implication is that management and Lizzo knew about this inappropriate behavior and did nothing to stop it. Again, an important thing I learned doing research for this video is that being offensive isn't necessarily illegal. It might just make you a dick. And a challenge in processing this lawsuit, not only for the uneducated public, but likely also in court, will be parsing those things apart. Religious harassment. All the plaintiffs versus Shirlene Quigley and Big Girl Big Touring Inc. Oh, I forgot to mention my earring. The earring is not mine. I need to give it back to someone. But the earring is Alex Studios. Miss Quigley is allegedly a bit of a zealot, to put it mildly. And all the plaintiffs allege that Miss Quigley constantly tried to impose her religious beliefs on everyone on tour. She was incessantly preaching and proselytizing. I just learned that word. I didn't know that was a word. Proselytizing. I'm no legal expert, but I have a feeling that won't be hard to prove. Exhibit A, the first couple of tweets I found on her Twitter. So the allegation is that if you disagreed with her beliefs, Quigley would be mean and lash out in anger towards you. Again, there are a lot of questions surrounding this. Like, did she/management discriminate against people who didn't share her beliefs? Did she retaliate? Did these individuals experience any kind of professional consequences? This is all relevant and this is all important, and these questions will most likely need to be answered. 4 or 2 or whatever. Now, apparently, Miss Quigley took a specific hyper-focused interest in Miss Davis. It seems like at some point, Quigley found out that Davis was still a virgin. It seems like when she discovered this information, she started sharing these details in public and broadcasting it on social media, which obviously, is it's not okay. On the other hand, Miss Rodriguez alleges that Quigley targeted Rodriguez as a non-believer and would pressure her into conforming to her beliefs even when Rodriguez pushed back and asked Quigley to stop. For example, it seems like Rodriguez was forced to engage in things like group prayers, even though she expressed that she did not want to do that. And again, the idea is that these concerns were brought to management, etc., and nothing was done to stop it. Racial harassment. Williams and Davis versus Big Girl Big Touring Inc. Again, I'm no lawyer, but for the amount of colorful detail you can find in this lawsuit, there doesn't seem to be a lot of detail that outlines specific incidents of racial harassment. But the details they do give are the following. There's an incident where the plaintiffs had to negotiate a retainer. The idea behind a retainer is that dancers were paid for when they were on tour or performing. However, when they were not performing and there were stretches of time where they were not performing or on tour, it seems like they were not paid. And it also seems like they couldn't take on other work. Again, was this part of their contract? We don't know. But this thing, okay, not being able to, not getting paid, but not being able to take on other work, this is referred to as a soft hold in the industry. So at some point in the story, the dancers allegedly found out that other members on tour were getting paid a percentage of their salary when they were on hold. So the dancers tried to negotiate a retainer for themselves. They asked for 50%. Management came back offering them 25%, and eventually they were able to negotiate it up to 50%. It seems like, they allege, management did not like the fact that they were, asking for a retainer and scolded the dancers, claiming that their behavior was unacceptable and disrespectful and cause for termination. Apparently, this was told to them in an email. They're going to have to cough up the email. And this is where the racial harassment allegations, I think, are supposed to come in. The dancers allege that only dance cast members who were full-figured women of color were ever spoken to this way. And the way this lawsuit sets things up is that it seems like this negotiation and email, marked a tipping point. And that's when the relationship between the dancers and management started falling apart. As one lawyer said, everything's good until the money comes in the way. The other example they give in the lawsuit is that apparently Black members of the team were treated differently. Black members of the team were allegedly often accused of being lazy, unprofessional, and having bad attitudes. If this is true, it's obviously wrong. An important question that will need to be answered is, did anything happen to these Black members of the group after that? Crystal Williams in this lawsuit seems to imply that it did, and that it in fact allegedly played a role in her termination. This is what I understand from what I read in the lawsuit, okay? Here's what allegedly went down. It seems like at some point on tour, Lizzo became convinced that members of the dance crew, I suppose, were drinking on the job and proceeded to confront them about it. It seems like during that confrontation, Williams stood up for herself and the other members of the crew, saying that she would never and they would never do that. And what the lawsuit implies is that Lizzo plus management did not like that. And shortly afterwards, Williams was terminated under the guise of budget cuts. But funny enough, Williams was the only one terminated. After this, apparently, Williams requested to speak with Lizzo. Management refused. And it seems like someone on the team told Williams, quote, she does not have the best attitude and comes off as snarky. Apparently, Miss Rodriguez was in the room, or, saw this all go down, and she decided to stand up for Crystal Williams. She expressed her disapproval of the termination, and management told Rodriguez, quote, we've never had problems with you. Rodriguez isn't black. So I'm assuming that the implied implication is that this was a racially charged comment. And the way this lawsuit sets things up, this is what I understand, not having any background in law, is the lawsuit kind of sets things up to make it sound like race may have played a role in Williams's termination. Disability discrimination, Miss Davis versus Big Girl, Big Touring, and Lizzo. There's a whole lot of events that play into this, but the idea is that Miss Davis had undergone a psychological evaluation as part of the reality show Watch Out for the Big Girls. The idea is that the results of the evaluation were shared with the touring company and we assume Lizzo, which seems to be normal. Miss Davis struggles with anxiety, depression, and eating disorder. The management company and Lizzo knew about this. So the way the lawsuit sets things up is that despite knowing all this, management put Miss Davis under such stress that in one instance, during a re-audition, she peed herself. Again, this is one of those details included in the lawsuit that it's like, is this supposed to detail an incident where disability discrimination took place? Is this information there to just help paint a picture of a type of work environment where disability discrimination could take place? Or is this just there for shock value? I don't know. Then we move on to things getting a little bit more serious. And the idea is that all these things, from what I understand, could have allegedly played a role in Miss Davis's eventual termination. So it seems like on tour, Miss Davis gained weight. And this was allegedly noticed by management and Lizzo and proved to be a problem for them. It seems like they continuously made microaggressive comments about how she, didn't seem like herself. She seemed less bubbly, less vivacious, and that they were worried about her. And obviously Miss Davis, trying to put two and two together, claims that nothing had changed. Her performance was the same. Her energy was the same. Her dedication to her craft and to her job was the same. The only thing that had changed was her weight. And so she assumed that these were comments directed at the fact that she had gained weight. Then it seems like at some point, Lizzo and management kind of cornered Miss Davis to figure out what was wrong and pressed her until they found out more information about her. And Miss Davis felt like she had no choice but to disclose that she had been struggling with a eating disorder. When this was revealed, it seems like Lizzo and someone else in management offered Miss Davis time off to attend therapy, which seems like an appropriate response. So again, this is a great example of information being in the lawsuit that does paint a picture of a toxic workplace where inappropriate behavior could happen, but in this instance doesn't show, based on what I understand, that a discriminatory action took place. The appropriate response to this situation happened. She wasn't fired or demoted. She was offered time off. What this information does do, though, is paint a very different picture to the public reading this of whomst Lizzo really is. And funny enough, a lot of the headlines we see in the media are about how Lizzo weight shamed her dancers and was allegedly fat phobic. Bad PR, but as far as I understand, not necessarily a suable offense. Now, the lawsuit does seem to set up all this information as leading up to Miss Davis getting fired, but the events that led Miss Davis to getting fired are much more complicated. This is how Miss Davis's termination allegedly went down. So the story is, Miss Davis suffers from an eye condition. Was the team aware of this condition? Did they accommodate it in the past? Did she get permission to do what she was about to do? Lots of questions. And As a result of this eye condition, when she's nervous, she becomes disoriented. So in order to get past, she sometimes makes video recordings in stressful situations so she can review the footage later. So during one of the tour camps, there was a meeting with Lizzo, and Miss Davis recorded the meeting so she could allegedly go through the performance notes later. Based on the information I found in this lawsuit, it doesn't seem like Miss Davis got permission to record. You are not allowed to record people without their permission. This is a fireable offense. It seems like Lizzo and management found out that someone had recorded the meeting and became furious. They apparently asked everyone to hand them their phones until someone told them who had made the recording. Miss Davis admitted that she's the one who had made the recording and that it was just for her own personal use. She claims that she had already deleted the video and that she didn't intend on doing anything malicious with the footage. Lizzo and whoever was present did not believe her, and she was fired on the spot. And this is where shit gets really serious. It's this precise event that leads up to the alleged assault and to the alleged false imprisonment allegations. Assault. Miss Davis and Miss Rodriguez versus Lizzo. So you may or may not know this, but assault is a crime and could have been charged in that way. But in this case, they aren't pressing charges. They just want money. So the story is that after Davis was fired on the spot for the recording, Rodriguez didn't like what she saw and asked to have a word with Lizzo. She told Lizzo that she did not appreciate how the situation was handled and therefore would resign. All the lawyers agree that this is huge for the case. Someone choosing to walk away from a work environment because they've had enough of the alleged hostile work environment, sexual harassment, racial disability discrimination, etc. is big. At that point, it seems like Mademoiselle Lizzo did not like that Rodriguez stood up for her friend, and things got heated. It is alleged that Lizzo approached Rodriguez, aggressively cracking her knuckles, balling her fists, and looking like she was going to attack her. Rodriguez claims that had other dancers not interfered, something physical could have taken place. I learned something really important thanks to this story. Assault is not someone putting their hands on you. Assault is the threat of something physical happening to you. If punches are thrown and land on you, that would be called battery. You learn something new every day doing research for YouTube. False imprisonment. Miss Davis versus Big Girl Big Touring Inc. And this leads up to the false imprisonment allegations. And this is serious. From what I understand, after Davis was fired on the spot for the recording, but obviously the lawsuit seems to imply that more than just that played into her firing, Miss Davis claims that she was detained in a room where management demanded to see her phone so that they could, I guess, delete whatever recording she had made. Miss Davis claims that she was not allowed to leave the room until the phone had been searched. False imprisonment is illegal as okay? It's a crime. But again, she just wants money. It doesn't look like she's trying to press charges. And finally, we have interference with prospective economic advantage. And this is all plaintiffs versus Big Girl Big Touring Inc. From what I understand, this has to do with the soft holds I was talking about earlier. So they are asking for damages for the periods they were placed on soft hold and had to forgo other opportunities. Again, what did the contract look like? What did they sign? They were given the retainer they asked for in the end. So are they just looking for damages for the periods where they weren't allowed to take other work and had yet to negotiate a retainer? Like, I'm not sure. It seems like all of that needs to be fleshed out. So in my opinion, it seems like the most serious allegations being made revolve around the alleged sexual harassment that happened at the club in Amsterdam, Bananenbar, the assault, and the false imprisonment, even though those aren't necessarily the ones hogging up the headlines. Which leads me to the little press tour. After the lawsuit was leaked to the public, the plaintiffs went on a little press tour.
Crystal, you know, there's an old expression, don't meet your heroes because they might disappoint you. I mean, is this just maybe a case of you had perceptions of what you thought this would be and it turned out to be different because she, like many other performers, has, you know, a different personality off stage? I mean, would an apology in this suffice, or does it really have to become a legal matter?
Within the first 72 hours of this scandal, they did sit-down interviews with TMZ, CBS, and CNN. Why is this significant? Because you're not Princess Diana. You're not Ice Spice. You don't need to walk around the hood like you're Princess Diana. You don't need to do a press conference. You can, if you choose to, let your lawsuit do the talking. File the thing and take it up in court. But they didn't do that. They allegedly leaked their shit to the media, provided the media with statements, and did a bunch of primetime interviews. All of that says something. All of that means something. I'll leave it up to you to decide what it says and what it means. But what we do know by now is that these moves are just as relevant to the Lizzo scandal story as the factual allegations being made. And on the topic of allegations, within hours of this lawsuit dropping to the public on the now ill-fated morning of August 1st, 2023, more allegations started coming out. These allegations, unfortunately, came out faster than Lizzo was able to get her shit together to put out a statement that could potentially spin the narrative in a different direction, which is very surprising given the fact that she most definitely knew this was coming ahead of time, even though there's a misleading narrative swirling around that she was somehow blindsided by the allegations. We'll get to that. So the first person to come out in support of the victims and the picture they painted of Lizzo and the work environment was a dancer called Courtney Hollinquest. Courtney took to her Instagram stories on August 1st to post the following message. For clarification, I'm not a part of the lawsuit, but this was very much my experience in my time there. Big shout out to the dancers who had the courage to bring this to light. Praying emoji, heart emoji. Shortly after that, one of Lizzo's former creative directors, called Quinn Wilson, comes out to reiterate what Courtney said and support the victims. Just so you know, being a creative director is a pretty high up in the food chain position to have. A lot of people who came forward after that, the main lawsuit leaked to the public, have a lot to lose by coming forward, okay? The creative world operates like a bit of a gang, and there's nothing gangs hate more than rats. So if you have to choose between a creative director who's historically called their old employers out on social media versus one that sees no evil, speaks no evil, hears no evil, who are you gonna choose? Ghostbusters! Quinn Wilson posted to Instagram on the same day, August 1st, 2023, echoing what Sequest said. Heart, I haven't been a part of that world for around 3 years, for a reason. I very much applaud the dancers' courage to bring this to light, and I grieve parts of my own experience. I'd appreciate space to understand my feelings. Shortly after this, we had a director and filmmaker called Sophia, Nahli, Allison, who came forward and took to social media to detail her alleged negative experience with Lizzo. Sophia was chosen to direct a documentary about Lizzo. Again, being a director is a very desirable position to be in, and it sounds like she stepped away from what could have been a really big contract. Career-making potential. A Lizzo documentary is mainstream streaming service material. Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Apple, and as far as documentary film goes, beyond the festival circuit, it doesn't get any bigger than that, okay? So this is very brave of her, and to me, speaks volumes. Sophia posted, I usually do not comment on anything pop culture related, but in 2019, I traveled a bit with Lizzo to be the director of her documentary. I walked away after about 2 weeks. I was treated with such disrespect by her. I witnessed how arrogant, self-centered, and unkind she is. I was not protected and was thrown into a shitty situation with little support. My spirit said to run as fast as you can, and I'm so grateful I trusted my gut. I felt gaslit and was deeply hurt, but I've healed. Reading these reports made me realize how dangerous of a situation it was. This kind of abuse of power happens far too often. Much love and support to the dancers. Then the director followed up with another post. To be clear, since I've spoken out, I've had others privately share their very similar experiences, and I have also been affirmed by people who witnessed what I went through. Lizzo creates an extremely toxic and hostile work environment and undermines the work, labor, and authority of other Black and brown women in the process. In parentheses, notice how the documentary ended up being directed by a cis white man. She is a narcissistic bully and has built her brand off of lies. I was excited to support and protect a Black woman through the documentary process, but quickly learned her image and message was a curated facade. I stand with the dancers and anyone who has had similar experiences working with her and her team. These working conditions are not okay. Water, cocktail, coffee. I need to do the rounds again. Then we had the Beyonce snub. And let me tell you something. Tina Knowles really tried it. This woman thinks we're fucking stupid. But guess what? I did my research and I settled the mystery. Beyonce snubbed Lizzo. Period. So on Tuesday night of August 1st, 2023, we're still only on the first 24 hours, okay? Beyonce was performing in Boston as part of her Renaissance tour. And in her set list, Beyonce performs the song Break My Soul remix. As far as internet DNA evidence indicates, she performs this song at every show. In the lyrics of this song, there is a section where she names the names of powerful, iconic women. While she sings these names, the names are displayed on the Jumbotron screen behind her. The lyrics go as follows. I'm going to need my sunglasses. Rosetta Tharpe, Santi Gold. Bessie Smith Nina Simone. Betty Davis Solange Knowles. Badu Lizzo Kelly Roll. Lauryn Hill Roberta Flack. Tony, Janet, Tierra Whack, Missy, Diana, Grace Jones, Aretha, Anita, Grace Jones, Vogue. In the clip that people have identified as proof of Beyonce trying to dodge a drama bullet, people highlighted how Beyonce skipped saying Lizzo's name and instead repeated Badu, Badu, Badu 3 times, okay? Lizzo's name still appeared on the Jumbotron though, so I did some digging. In most clips of this part of Beyonce's Renaissance tour set you can find on the internet, by the time Beyonce gets to Erykah Badu and Lizzo's name, it sounds like she often takes a moment to catch her breath, okay? It seems like she often skips saying Lizzo's name. This was true before the scandal, but never has she ever, based on my internet forensic DNA research, skipped saying Erykah Badu, Lizzo, Kelly Rowland, and replaced it by saying the word Badu 3 times. Now, when people started making a big story about this, Tina Knowles inserted herself in the comments section of the Jasmine brand's Instagram post, basically saying that people were talking shit. And the lame ass excuse she gave was that Beyonce had allegedly even skipped saying her sister's name. Well, guess what? In the clip, not only does Beyonce most definitely say Solange Knowles' name, she also most definitely repeats the word Badu 3 times. And she has never done that in the past. Beyonce, in an attempt to dodge some drama llama, shaded Lizzo. Period. You're not going to spin your way out of this one, Tina. You might be richer than me, but you're not smarter than me. This brings us to August the 2nd. This is the day after the thing leaked, okay? On August the 2nd, we also had an activist called Ojewumi who took to social media to detail her negative experience with Lizzo. I'm going to go over this quickly. Ojewumi has a disability and is in a wheelchair. She alleges that at a concert in 2017, she was trampled by a fan, and then the fan was asked to come on stage and sing with Lizzo. This eventually was brought to Lizzo's attention. It seems like the two, as a result of the incident, became connected over DMs. Lizzo sent Ola a DM that seemed to be a standard legal message denying responsibility for what happened and implying that she hadn't seen her get trampled. In the message, Lizzo did seem apologetic and offered to meet Ola and put her on the list for her show the next time she was in DC. And it seems like when Ola followed up, she didn't hear back from Lizzo. She had been ghosted. Dun dun dun. I ghost people sometimes, but there's always a good reason. They always had it coming. If I've ghosted you, it is most definitely your fault. After Ola, a few more allegations would come out, but that would be a little bit later. Okay, I'm trying to do this in chronological order. So on August the 2nd, with no apology or counter narrative from Lizzo in sight, the internet had no choice but to start digging into Lizzo's past. I'm putting the sunglasses back on because it's a vibe. And I've also gone for a refill. The TMZ clip. I'm here to announce to you, TMZ is back on the ball, baby. It's back in the game, okay? TMZ would do God's work by unearthing a clip of Lizzo in a sit-down radio interview in Amsterdam, where she tells the host that she's always wanted to go to the bar where people shoot bananas out of their and that, in fact, she had gone to a bar where people were having sex on stage. Does it prove anything? No, it doesn't. Is it relevant? Very. Then we'd have the lyrics. The internet would also start re-examining some of Lizzo's lyrics. More specifically, it would zero in on her 2021 song Rumours, which ironically is on the music video for that song that Lizzo would meet and recruit her match, Rodriguez. Noelle Rodriguez. People pointed out that in the lyrics for Rumours, Lizzo goes, quote, "Had to cut some hoes loose, yeah. NDA, no loose lips. Now them hoes trying to sue me. I don't give two shits." Dun dun dun. First of all, this song must have been written years before she met any of these women, but it's kind of hilarious nonetheless. It provides the internet with something to do while we all wait on Lizzo to say something. Don't hate the player, hate the game. But my hands down favorite kind of content that circulated on the day of August 2nd, 2023 was people putting together compilations / listicles of all of Lizzo's past controversies so we could collectively speculate on what this could potentially say about her character. Yes, it's petty as f***, but it's also relevant. So, in no particular order, Lizzo's past controversy. These are the most relevant ones to the scandal at hand. In no particular chronological order. The Chris Brown scandal. Lizzo goes to an American and bow wow wow yippee yo yippee yay concert in LA. Backstage, she meets Chris Brown, post-abuse, for the first time. Lizzo asks Chris Brown if she could take a picture with him and tells Chris Brown that he's her favorite person in the whole fucking world. And there's video evidence to prove this. I'm not implying anything. You're implying something. The Postmates scandal. Lizzo ordered some food from Postmates. Her food did not arrive. She was mad. She tweeted that a Postmates employee had stolen her food after marking it as delivered when it was not. She then proceeded to share a photo of this woman, the Postmates driver, and her name to her 1 million followers at the time. Tiffany Wells, who was the Postmates driver, ends up suing Lizzo for libel, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and invasion of privacy. The driver alleges that she ended up facing threats and had to leave her job at Postmates due to safety concerns. From what I understand, they settled outside of court. After people online expressed outrage at Lizzo's behavior, Lizzo apologized publicly for putting this girl on blast. Quote, "I apologize for putting this girl on blast. I understand I have a large following and that there were so many variables that could have put her in danger. I'm gonna really be more responsible with my use of social media and check my petty ass and pride at the door." End quote. The Chris Evans sexual harassment scandal. This scandal is stupid as Lizzo has historically exposed herself as being a little thirsty for Chris Evans. I don't get it. I don't see it for him. So it seems like she once tweeted at Chris Evans asking him to marry her. Later, she would share with the public that she had drunkenly slid into Chris's DMs to shoot her shot.
The reason I'm upset about this one is because I know I'm not going to be able to marry him. And honestly, it hurts me to the core because Damn, Papa, he a rare breed, no comparing.
Chris Evans replied to the DM and seemingly didn't have a problem with Lizzo shooting her shot. The two proceeded to follow each other on IG. Then, on another occasion, people started speculating that Lizzo was pregnant. Lizzo joked that it was Chris Evans' baby. Chris Evans got in on the joke, and the internet was like, wow, if this was a man, it would have been low-key sexual harassment. And it's like, shut the up. You sound stupid, but not as stupid as Lizzo's apology sounded. The apologies. So, we're on the third day, the first 72 hours. We need the first 48, but it needs to be like the first 72. That's for like scandals, the first 72. If the scandal is not resolved in the first 72 hours, it's a flop. So, on August the 3rd, 2023, Lizzo breaks her silence and posts an apology to Instagram. She writes, "The last few days have been gut-wrenchingly difficult and overwhelmingly disappointing. My work ethic, morals, and respectfulness have been questioned. My character has been criticized. Usually, I choose not to respond to false allegations, but these are as unbelievable as they sound and too outrageous to not be addressed. These sensationalized stories are coming from former employees who have already publicly admitted that they were told their behavior on tour was inappropriate and unprofessional." They admitted that someone told them something, or they admitted that their behavior was unprofessional. Get your English straight. As an artist, me, Lizzo, it's all about me. As an artist, I have always been very passionate about what I do. I take my music and my performance seriously because at the end of the day, I only want to put out the best art that represents me and my fans. With passion comes hard work and high standards. Sounding a lot like Jonah Hill. Standards. Sometimes I have to make hard decisions, but it's never my intention to make anyone feel uncomfortable or like they aren't valued as an important part of the team. I am not here to be looked at as a victim, but I know that I am not the villain that people in the media have portrayed me to be these last few days. I am very open with my sexuality and expressing myself, but I cannot accept or allow people to use that openness to make me out to be something I am not. There is nothing I take more seriously than the respect we deserve as women in the world. This is the first time I heard the word we. I know what it feels like to be body shamed on a daily basis and would absolutely never criticize or terminate an employee because of their weight. To think someone actually got paid hella coin to write that piece of trash. Apology. I hate this apology for many reasons. The first one being that it has this aura of surprise, which echoes a narrative that's been circulating in the media thanks to anonymous sources who spoke to People magazine, that Lizzo was somehow blindsided by these allegations. And that is simply not true. These anonymous sources are putting out this information in the media to help Lizzo garner sympathy, period. She knew this was coming. And how do we know that? We know that because NBC News reached out to Lizzo and her team in advance of the story's publication for comment, and they didn't get a reply. It is also probable, given the legal process in California of suing civilly or whatever for workplace shit, that Lizzo and her team would have been notified that this was on the horizon. Either way, my point is that Lizzo and her team knew this was coming, and this apology is the best they could do. It's all about Lizzo, isn't it? And not only that, they knew this was coming, and the same day, same time the lawsuit leaked to the public, her team thought it would be appropriate to serve fashion looks on Instagram like nothing was about to go down. Like, tell me you don't actually give a f with actually telling me you don't give a f. You know, posting on Instagram like nothing is happening is one way to do it. And this self-centered apology is a close second. If you possess the genetic predisposition to giving a f about more than just yourself, it is pretty easy to craft an apology without incriminating yourself and simultaneously acknowledging that you're not the only person going through pain. Notably, you can use the word I a lot less and use the word we a lot more. This apology does nothing to acknowledge the pain and disappointment this could have caused her fans. When a scandal like this breaks, it's not only traumatic for the person in question, it's also traumatic for this person's fandom. And I don't see anything in the verbiage here that communicates the message, I see you, I hear you, and I'm sorry for the confusion these allegations may have caused you. And I look forward to defending my innocence and in the process earning back your trust if these untrue allegations have had per result shattering that vibe. In fact, Shirlene Quigley's apology did do that. And that's why, even though her apology went under the radar, I'm going to read it to you. Shirlene posted her apology the day after Lizzo on August 4th, 2023. And I'm reading it to show you that all it takes is a couple of words to show people that you are capable of a little something called empathy. This is Shirlene Quigley's apology. It is with a heavy heart that I address the recent allegations that have surfaced over the past few days. I want to categorically state that these accusations are not only baseless, but also profoundly hurtful. Throughout my 20-year tenure in this industry, my success has been a result not just of hard work and dedication to my craft, but also of my unwavering commitment to integrity and authenticity. While it pains me to see individuals who I have supported resort to filing false allegations against me, I choose to embrace compassion for whatever challenging circumstances they are going through, rather than feed into the negativity. I am steadfast in my determination to navigate this situation with grace and dignity, keeping in mind the tremendous love and passion I hold for my craft, the extraordinary people I have been fortunate to meet and collaborate with, and the unmovable faith that guides me. My priority remains in preserving the artistry and dedication that has defined my career. I am grateful for the continued support and understanding from my family, friends, and colleagues during this challenging time. Not that hard. I choose to embrace compassion for whatever challenging circumstances they are going through. Now, if you thought Lizzo's apology was bad, the internet seems to think that Lizzo's choice of legal representation is even worse. After this apology came out, it was revealed to the public that Lizzo would be represented by Hollywood bulldog lawyer Martin Singer. From an optics standpoint, the internet seemed to think that this further cemented her possible guilt. This alone has become a bit of a talking point on the internet. So I decided to dig into this further as I was genuinely curious to see if shit was really so black and white. And while it is true that Marty Singer has represented some unambiguously despicable people, Bill Cosby is a great example, and represented the kind of people I'm pretty sure you wouldn't want your daughter dating, aka Johnny Depp, Chris Brown, and now Jonah Hill, unless Jonah Hill's boundaries are up to par with your standards. However, as a relevant counterweight, I also discovered that in 2014, it seems like Singer threatened to sue Google for not acting quickly enough to remove stolen pictures that appeared online of a dozen female celebrities, actresses, models, and athletes. I feel like I remember this leak being a pretty big deal in Hollywood. Anyways, he didn't name his clients, but we do know that some of the women who had their pictures stolen at the time included Jennifer Lawrence, Amber Heard, Avril Lavigne, and Vanessa Hudgens. Yeah, so I'll just leave that with you. But to me, one of the interesting things I read about Marty Singer is not his client list, but rather some people analyzing his legal signature strategies in a post-Me Too era. And these are legal signature strategies that were already seen at play in the media. You may recall seeing a clip of Crystal Williams published by TMZ circulating in the media. In the clip, Williams is seen on camera praising her ex-boss, Lizzo. TMZ happened to obtain a video. We don't know by whomst, but conveniently enough, Marty Singer was right up there providing comment. Marty Singer goes, quote, "These do not sound like the words of someone who was harassed or discriminated against by someone they described as, quote, the queen."
What's up? It's Arianna Davis from season 1 of Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls. I know, you're probably thinking, why is she here? What is she doing auditioning for season 2? The short answer is, I'm a singer, and I just want to share that part of me with y'all. I know, I've been on tour, I've been working with Lizzo for maybe close to a year now, and it's been so amazing and such a beautiful journey.
Talk about a codependent relationship. TMZ and Marty Singer. They don't love him enough to kill the Lizzo story entirely, but they'll let him slip a good word for his clients and maybe run the long lost clip or two for him every so often. What clown show. Anyways, apparently this is just classic Marty Singer, poking holes in the story and credibility of the victims. And by the way, based on the research I did for my Megan Thee Stallion and Tory Lanez deep dive, this is literally how the justice system as a whole treats SA victims. But as one entertainment lawyer said to one of the publications I read, I really don't remember which one, I'll put it up on the screen, quote, "When you have a PR-facing aspect to a case, attacking the victim in a post-Me Too era doesn't work like it used to," end quote. In other words, the public can identify the tactic for what it is, a smear campaign. And that's literally what happened when the clip of Crystal Williams was leaked to the media. The internet was like, yeah? And you're telling me you never talked positively about a boss you don't like because you wanted to do things like, I don't know, keep your job? Like, try again. It's so funny because in one of these like profiles of Marty Singer, the journalist or writer said something like, quote, "Marty Singer has the power to make TMZ not run a story with a 5-minute phone call." And I was like, not this time. Try again. By the way, even funnier enough is the exact kind of reaction the internet had to most people who came out in support of Lizzo. There's this funny little narrative that has been floating around on the internet that nobody has come out in support of Lizzo, that she's been left out to the wolves. And that's not entirely true. It's just that the people who did come out in support of Lizzo are unfortunately annoying as and or have something to gain from pledging allegiance to the flag and thus have no credibility. And honestly, don't shoot the messenger, okay? I'm just relaying the information I found on the internet. Exhibit A, Jamil. One of the most liked comments under Lizzo's post comes from the influencer and activist Jamil. Jamil talks a lot about diet culture, body image, and these kinds of things. So she put a bunch of hearts and people were like, can you just sit this one out for once? And I did a little research, and I think this is because Jamil has earned herself a bit of a reputation, it seems, for inserting herself into conversations that, yes, are relevant to her various causes, but does so in a way that kind of fails to read the room. So she received a lot of backlash for her little hearts comment and addressed the backlash in her Instagram stories. This is what she had to say. "Stop flooding my DMs about Lizzo. Nobody knows what has actually happened. Due to the all too familiar pipeline of a woman, especially a black woman, flying too high in the media, becoming more powerful than the media, and being too comfortable in her own skin, and then being dragged down, and punished over claims before they are proven to be true, I don't think it's wise to start jumping in with speculation. And the excuse of this accusation being used to justify abhorrent abuse about Lizzo's appearance is batshit crazy. See, Meg Thee Stallion, Meghan Markle, Whitney, Janet, Mariah all went through similar moments when doing too well. I have no idea what is going on, but I think the amount of speculation this has already gotten without evidence yet is deeply sus, as well as how excited everyone on social media seems to be about it. I hope everyone involved is okay, and I hope this all ends with peace and clarity. She continues, the level of abuse and personal attack being levied at this already hounded and bullied woman is one of the worst I've ever seen. People are genuinely enjoying this online. It's extremely perverse. If people write a supportive heart under her post, it's not to decide who is right or wrong. It's to remind this woman that there is still love in the world, amongst the immeasurable hatred that the public does not show to men who have been accused and even convicted of far worse. Then in black, she writes, there are a lot of witnesses. I'm sure the truth will come out, and whatever the verdict, abusing her over her appearance will never be okay. I've only ever seen black women publicly dehumanized in this way, this easily. It's a rant. Put periods more often, less run-on sentences, and it wouldn't sound like a rant, but this sounds like a rant. She ends her rant with, you're allowed to be angry with me for saying there is never an excuse to talk about a woman's appearance as a way of discussing your dislike or disapproval of their behavior. But that will always be my stance. I have not commented on what has happened, just the disgusting behavior of people online. It is my opinion and has always been that when we use somebody's body/weight as a tool to attack them, we don't only harm that person, we harm every person who looks like that person. Seeing our vitriol online. Lizzo might not see what you say. I'm so over this thing already. Okay, Lizzo might not see what you say about her body, but your friends/colleagues with bigger bodies might. Keep your critiques to what is relevant. Thanks, Jameela. Yes, keep your comments to what is relevant. I'm gonna get to that in just a second. Do not allow for a woman to be ripped to shreds over her appearance. This is someone I would stay far away from, okay, in real life. But given the fact she's part of the scandal, I'm gonna address her. I'm not gonna unpack all of this. Here is where the problem with this is. You're right, Jameela. It's never okay to bully someone. It's never okay to abuse them. It's never okay to come for their weight. She's right. But it's also important not to jump the gun, because you're overeager to put the spotlight on a conversation you want to have. So part of the backlash I truly think Jameela got is because she was trying to bring the conversation to point B when people hadn't even processed point A. Notably, people were still processing and grasping what Lizzo had been accused of and working through their anger about this legit betrayal. Okay? So the consensus is, maybe she could have sat this one out. She just sounds like a whirlwind of a person. And I like peace too much in my life, honestly. Let me just Google that real quick. Give me just a second. I just read this online. I think this is what embodies people's annoyance with Jameela Jamil. She has a tendency to try to speak for everyone when it would be in everyone's best interest, including her own, if she would just pass the mic. Let's just keep it at that. And also, it seems like she does disability advocacy as well. Next, we had people in the fashion industry come forward and show Lizzo some love. I love myself some fashion. Obviously, I am a fashion girl. Look at these trophies. I just won a new trophy over the weekend. My house and I brought home the best dress code as a house trophy at the Quilted Kiki Ball. We stormed that category and we won. So fashion is my thing and I'm competitive about it, but not in everyday life. I compete on the runway. I'm not see, this is the thing with competition. Okay. It's okay to be competitive, but there's a time and a place for competition and it's in competitive circumstances. If you want to be competitive, sign up to sports, sign up, do ballroom like I do. Okay. Be a content creator, get into business, but don't be annoying and compete with people in your everyday life. That I don't like. Competition is fine. Now, I love myself some fashion, but the fashion industry is not to be taken seriously. I tend to not take fashion people seriously. Fashion people, in my eyes, have a predisposition towards being thirsty, clout-chasing zombies who are in codependent relationships with celebrities. They are in the business of celebrity worship and celebrity veneration, and that is the lamest kind of person that exists on the planet, in my opinion, okay? Well, obviously, like, if you're like a bigot or like a dictator, you're lamer than that. But like in everyday life, these types of people are just trash, okay? Basically, do not look towards the fashion industry for a moral compass because it has none, okay? These people have a vested interest in maintaining relationships with celebrities, and kissing ass is like the biggest part of that. Exhibit B, here's a comment by someone called Louis Banks Studio. I'm not even going to read the comment because it's stupid. This person lives in an alternate clout-chasing, zombied, celebrity worshipping, sycophantic universe, okay? The only sentence from this person's comment I need you to keep in mind is the following. Quote, "People are so quick to tear down the hand that feeds them." Because in the fashion industry, feudalism is apparently still a thing. And people need to be thankful they're even getting paid by their masters for the labor they are most definitely putting in. That's literally all you need to know about the fashion industry and fashion people in a nutshell. I mean, not all of them. I know people in the fashion industry that are cool, okay? But it's the culture breeds trash. And last but not least, we had Claire Boucher, who was a couple days late to the party, but when she did come out in defense of Lizzo, was met with a resounding "shut the f up, Grimes." This happened a couple days later. It happened on August 6, 2023. Okay, we're kind of like moving forward in the timeline. We're going to go back, but whatever, okay? So Grimes posts to Twitter. Yeah, I guess like, let me just go back on Jamil for a second. I guess this is the thing. Like, black women can speak for themselves, you know? Big black women can speak for themselves. You really don't need to be the spokesperson for everything that's wrong about how big black women are treated. This isn't really your conversation to have, Jameela, in the first place. You know? I don't know. I understand that like thing that I just read, basically. So this is what Claire Boucher, aka Grimes, had to say. Grimes posts to Twitter, "I love Lizzo. Not saying I don't believe people when bad things happen, but I had dancers mistreated on my watch in ways I didn't find out about until way later. Maybe shit is bad, but loyalty matters to me. Lizzo was kind to me and others for a decade before she was cool, and she checked in on me when no one cared. I've only seen exemplary behavior from her, especially when everyone was hating on me and she was on top of the world. Besides, there was no reason for her to check in besides to be a good person. Just my 2 cents. I recall when she first blew up being so happy because I'd never known such an admirable person to find fame in the music industry. I struggle to believe she would have so radically changed. Tired of a culture that seeks to destroy its greatest virtues. Lizzo is amazing." So you know, people read the out of Claire Boucher. One person, I don't know who this is, wrote, "Grimes, it's because you're rich and wealthy and have influence. Lizzo is a classist abuser who doesn't believe people on her level deserve respect." Grimes replies, "Lizzo was nice to me before Elon when she blew up and I was still indie as She was nice to me in like 2012 before anyone cared about either of us. She checked in while I was canceled as while I was pregnant, when most people abandoned me because they didn't want the association. She was kind when I was only a liability to her. I respect that hardcore. That's a good person." But it's only when I read the following interaction that I was like, wow, Elon Musk didn't just seep into this woman's ovaries. He also seeped into her brain. Girl, Someone replies to Grimes, Chris Brown was nice to me, so he never hit Rihanna. I agree with Grimes. When someone is nice to you, they are nice to everyone. Like Tarantino said with Weinstein, quote, I never saw it happen in front of me. Grimes replies, Rihanna has supported Chris Brown in the aftermath because Rihanna seems to care about restorative justice. Assuming Lizzo is guilty without a trial, which flies in the face of democracy, it's funny to me that the same people who fight for restorative justice seem against it for someone who has been a figurehead for change and suffered greatly to fight for acceptance. Do you not hear yourself? You literally sound like an angry, middle-aged, anti-woke, fascist-adjacent white man. You know, these woke people, they're so quick to talk about how the prison system sucks and it's basically like modern-day slavery, but they're so quick to want to lock someone up without a fair trial. And it's like, being canceled is not the same thing as getting incarcerated. Like, get your analogies straight. But I feel like, given Claire Boucher's whiteness and privilege, I'm not surprised that in her mind, they'd both be just as bad. And also, looping back to the first interaction, it's like Grimes is out to lunch. She's like, Lizzo was nice to me back in 2012 when I was a nobody and she had nothing to gain. Guess what? You can be indie as and still have a lot of clout and street cred. In 2012, Claire Boucher released the underground classic Oblivion, and that's worth something on these music streets. She wasn't a nobody. If Lizzo had been nice to Claire Boucher when she was a student at McGill, then that would have been a different story. Then she goes, Lizzo was nice to me when I was canceled. Well, guess what? Lizzo may just have good game and good long-term planning abilities. Cancellation doesn't last forever, especially when you have a baby with Elon Musk. Chances are, at some point, you'll be all right. And guess who you'll remember then? Lizzo, which you did. Now, back to August 3rd when Lizzo posted her apology, okay? After Lizzo posted her Fugazi apology, there are a couple more allegations that came out. Don't worry, I'm gonna go over this quickly because this video is already too damn long. I've been standing for like 4 hours now. You might like this very long content. I like it too, but it's just physically taxing. We have a woman who came forward on TikTok implying that Lizzo may have stolen some music video ideas / concepts from her. I'll put the links to that allegation or to those allegation videos in the description below. I want to get to the allegations of allegations, okay? In my humble opinion, this scandal's true MVP was Mike Wright's, Mike Wright is Lizzo's boyfriend / ex-boyfriend, okay? His ex-girlfriend. She came out on TikTok with some allegations as well. Now, it's important to know that a lot of people ran with the story she told and started creating this, quote, Lizzo stole someone else's man narrative. And I'm happy that people online brought up the fact that women don't have some kind of witchy power to steal someone else's man. Men make the conscious decision to walk away from relationships with women. It's not us, it's them. So this is the video.
First met Lizzo late 2016, 2017-ish. She and my boyfriend were co-hosting a show on MTV called Wonderland. And no, she wasn't very nice. She wasn't very nice to me. I knew she didn't like me, but the people around her were nice. Like her sister seemed nice. And I kind of ignored it because I felt like, well, you know, she's already like in this celebrity scene or whatever. So she probably just feels like she has better things to do than talk to me. And I just noticed that, like, even when we were just out to eat or at the beach or something, she still wasn't very nice to me. And it wasn't like a production thing, like, oh, she's just really busy or whatever. She just didn't like me. She didn't say anything that was mean, but she was really like standoffish or like wouldn't talk to me. You know, like when I talked to her, it was kind of like, oh, okay, like get the fuck away from me. I don't want to talk to you. So yeah, I eventually found out that she and my boyfriend has something going on, ex-boyfriend. And that was that. I left the relationship. I mean, yeah, it was heartbreaking. I mean, I was with him for 10 years. I supported him through everything. And when he finally got a big break, he left me for Lizzo.
So when she came out with this, people were obviously like, why now? And her answer proved to me that in this messy ass scandal filled with somewhat unclear motives, this one woman was the absolute realest of them all. She was like, listen, maybe you're a better person than I am. Call me petty. Maybe this was all ego. But when the universe gives you this after everything I've been through, like, hell yeah, I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. And I have one word for that. Respect.
I tried to let it go. But now that it's coming to light, who she really is and how she really operates, it's just like vindication.
So, since all this shit went down, it seems like Lizzo lost over 200,000 followers. She has been dropped from the list of contenders for this coming Super Bowl, and 6 more dancers have approached the plaintiffs' defense team, I believe, the plaintiffs' law team, with similar stories. As I write this, the lawyers representing the plaintiffs are looking into these stories to see whether any of them can be actionable. But most importantly, given this scandal's MVP, it seems like karma is real. Lizzo and her allegedly social climbing opportunist boyfriend unfollowed each other on Instagram and removed all traces of each other on social media. Is there trouble in paradise? I found this particular piece of gossip satisfying because I have had to deal with quite a few social climbers and opportunists in my life. And I find great comfort in knowing that they at least remain predictable insofar as their true colors always come to light when an opportunity has seemingly run its course.